I'm curious on this though, unless Sandra, you were continuing your thing, or okay. What about like when it comes to bathrooms? Does your answer change? Like, would you rather a man or a bear wanders into the bathroom, the woman's bathroom?
That's a very different scenario.
Yes, I just gave you a new scenario. Do you want to answer the question, or do you want to drag this on?
Sure. Yeah, sure. A man can come into the bathroom.
Okay. What about you?
Probably a man.
Okay. If you were in a bathroom, would you rather a man or a bear wanders in?
Well, would I have stalls in the bathroom?
Sure. And it could be like a trans woman.
Okay, then I'll take the bear because I'll probably be in a stall using the bathroom.
I suppose I should have said male instead of man, but yeah, it could be a trans woman. Wait, so, oh, okay, that's interesting. So like in the forest where you can like, there's escape routes, bear.
Well, no, I mean, I can actually understand. It makes a lot of sense to me that why a person would pick a bathroom stall to protect themselves from a 1,000-pound ridiculously strong monster. That makes a lot of sense to me. Though I can, with one hand, rip a bathroom stall door off of its hinge like it's nothing because the locks are very flimsy, made out of cheap-ass metal, and they just have what's called a compartment slit, so they're actually very weak. I'm sure a bear would have a ton of trouble getting in there, though.
I guess one other question on this. Do you guys think that if you pick bear instead of man, do you think that that's sexist? Oh, come on.
My original answer had nothing to do with that. That's what I'm trying to explain here.
Right, but like from the male perspective, it's like, oh, okay, she'd rather be with like you like bears or whatever, you like animals, but you'd pick, like there's a survival, like the question there's like a sort of an implication of a survival situation here.
I know what you're talking about.
Like bears are dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think men are dangerous?
They could be.
They could be, yeah. So you're picking a wild animal over a man. But this is really your troll. This is sort of your trollish way to not actually engage with like the spirit of the question, which is like, oh, I just like animals. You've heard the bear or man question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what the spirit of it is. It's not like asking, oh, do you prefer, like, do you like
But you
animals?
asked me the bathroom situation. I answered honestly with that too. I picked the man over the bear in the bathroom.
Yeah, but so like you don't, when you're asked the question of man versus bear, you're not analyzing it from a safety standpoint at all.
Well, then
Here, let me,
the
sure,
question.
I will, sure. So from a safety standpoint, would you rather be in the forest with a man or a bear?
A man.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's cool. So, but do you think if a woman were to pick bear instead of man from a safety context, do you think that would be like a sexist position against men?
That's not what I believe, so I don't know. I can't answer on behalf of those women.
What do you mean you can't answer?
I think, you know, and I've seen that trend on TikTok, right? Everyone's seen the trend, so you're going to say, sorry. I think a lot of women that maybe have that stance have traumas associated with assault, so I can't speak on behalf of them and how they feel and their view on it, right?
Yeah, sure.
So how is that me not participating?
Yeah, but so I understand that like women can and do have trauma as it relates to experiences with men. Absolutely. This is not something I deny, but I guess my question is, would it be sexist with or without trauma to pick, to basically, of what you know about the risk assessment when it comes to men, to pick a wild animal, a bear, over a random man, a random bear versus a random man? Is that sexist?
Do I think it's sexist?
Do you think it would be sexist or is sexist?
It wasn't my answer, so I really don't have an opinion. Do you guys feel like that's what hurts their feelings if women don't feel safe around men? Is that what we're getting at here?
No, not really.
Do you feel like that would be sexist? Like for anybody that answers?
I absolutely do think if you answer bear in the spirit of how the question is asked and it pertains to like a safety concern, yeah, I do think it's sexist.
Okay.
Because you're doing a risk assessment and you're basically, it's a temperature check. Like, okay, you think like this proportion of men are basically rapists or like have violent intentions. And so I'm going to pick a wild animal over men. Yeah, it's absolutely sexist, and I can explain it a different way. Let's change it a little bit, though. So why don't we make it about race? So let's say a white person has had trauma as it relates to dealing with a black person. They have a history of trauma with somebody who's black. And for this reason, and perhaps maybe they don't even have direct trauma, but they've known people who have been assaulted by black people. And they see news stories, and they belong to online groups, and the algorithm on TikTok is feeding them stories about, oh, this black person, I'm a white person, they attacked me, they assaulted me violently, whatever it may be. And because of their safety concerns, they're scared of black people. They believe that, say 50%, like she said, 50% of black people have like a tendency towards like violence or like some sort of crime, like SA, for example. And so they then pick, instead of a black person, they pick the bear instead of the black person. Would you say that that would be a racist position?
If that's based on their own thoughts and experiences, who am I to tell them that that's, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, sure. I guess you can acknowledge that they have a preference, but you want to answer the actual question?
That is my answer
Yeah,
to the
is
question.
it racist?
Is it racist
Yes. Would
for
it be
them,
racist? Would it be
based on
racist?
their own experiences, to come up with their own conclusion on something?
Yeah. Now, let's say like large swaths of the white population had this similar fear because they were either fed like propaganda, or there's like algorithms in their TikTok, like basically just painting black people as like these violent criminals, right? And so then these white people are starting to like, okay, well, in what kind of dimensions can we like try to segregate ourselves from black people? Can we like exclude them from like perhaps our workplace? Would you agree that that would be racist?
To a certain extent, but like in what way are men getting that? I'm confused.
What do you mean?
Like, how are men experiencing exactly what you said?
Exhibit A, she just said she thinks 50% of men are SAers.
I mean, that's what she said. That's her own personal
Sure.
beliefs. That doesn't reflect my beliefs.
Okay, what's your, if you had to assign a percentage of like the adult male U.S. population that's
no
inclined
idea.
towards like SA, yeah, what do you think it is?
I have no idea.
What do you think?
I don't
What
have
have you heard
any idea.
feminists propagate?
I actually don't know.
What is the feminist rhetoric on this?
I don't read
Really?
feminist
Did you go to college? They didn't give you like tutorials on this shit?
tutorial. I graduated pre-med. Why would they give me tutorials
usually
on
there's, like,
how many people
what's-
sex assault people? I'm confused. I'm lost.
There's absolutely like typically like freshman orientation. There's some sort of like consent class, and they'll typically like present you with like these totally bogus inflated statistics,
okay.
like 1 in 4, 1 in 3 college
Why?
women are going to be raped, like totally bogus.
I must not have been there. I know men who've also been raped
Sure.
in college.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I
That's
don't
meant to.
particularly feed into that. I wasn't there for that seminar. I'm not quite sure. And I graduated a long time ago.
Did you ever take like a feminist studies class?
No.
Okay, so you're not familiar with like the really commonly cited statistic. It's either like 1 in 4, 1 in
No,
3 women
I'm
are
actually
going to
not.
like get raped in like college or something like this, which is totally fabricated and not true. But
Well, I'll take that from. I've never heard that statistic before,
okay,
so I don't
cool.
know.
So basically, what's happening is you've taught a generation of women to have like total fear of men, and they think like 1 in 4, 1 in 3, 50% of men are literally sex criminals or have the potential to be sex criminals. I think that's a pretty despicable thing to like paint an entire gender as.
Okay.
Yeah, do you think it's despicable?
If it's
Or do you go ahead?
yeah, if it's being portrayed that way, then sure.
Okay.
I personally am not familiar with those studies or those statistics, so I just feel like I personally can't speak on behalf of it. If I did, I would.
You've never heard about like those statistics?
S-
Okay, that's fine.
What is like the actual statistic? You said that the other one was
Well, I mean, you
inflated.
can, yeah, I mean, there's the often like,
I'm just curious. I'm coming at it
I
as
mean-
an unbiased question.
yeah, so you could look at like FBI crime statistics. You could look at the Department of Justice of crime statistics related to this. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's like far, far lower than the often repeated like 1 in 4, 1 in 3 women have been like raped thing. And I actually looked at like the surveys that they've done to arrive at that number, and they'll include things like, I'm trying to think, have you ever been catcalled? And then they'll include this in sort of like this overarching sexual violence term where they'll incorporate catcalling. If you say, yes, I've been catcalled, or like, yes, a guy said like an inappropriate thing to me, that's going to count towards that statistics of sexual violence, and then that gets conflated with the rates of rape, which is just
that
totally
is wrong.
bogus.
That is very
Well,
wrong.
well, not only that, but there's also exclusion, which happens because of the classification of non-penetrative versus sex. So men who are raped by women, because it's non-penetrative, depending on which data you're looking at, it's just not counted at all.
Yeah,
It's
but it
not
absolutely happens.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, but
absolutely
it's-
happens.
Yeah,
But
it just depends on how you parse the data.
Yeah.
Well, sources on that too, which I think is interesting. But I'm not going to belabor the point. You guys don't have stats in front of you, so it would be kind of fundamentally unfair for me to have the expectation that you'd be able to cite these things off the top of your head. The point of Brian's question was not to ask whether or not you knew what the stats were, but just based off of intuition, what you would think the percentage, or would you put it at high or very low, or very high or very low, for the chances of random man just essaying a random woman, essentially.
Yeah, and I stand on my answer with, like, I think everyone has their own personal experiences that lead them to have their own perspective on that. Personally,
Sure,
I
totally
haven't.
agree.
Yeah,
So
I
based on
haven't
your
had
experiences, would you put it
scenarios.
at very low or very high?
Yeah, I haven't had scenarios where that's been a problem for me. So I personally don't see the world in that way.
Yeah, so you would put it at very low from your experience.
For me personally, but I can't speak on behalf of anyone else here. except
Yeah,
for
but
myself.
he wasn't asking you to. So, but I think we got to the heart of it. Then you would just put it at very low. Okay.
California underscore
Oh
dot
boy,
donated $200.
getting roasted already.
Brixton, please use this money to finally get a commercial
California
driver's
DOT,
license.
Department of
You needed to
Transportation.
be hauling that absolute dump truck of yours around.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm working on it. I'm working like trying to get like an 18-wheeler,
God's
so
sake.
it's in the works. Thank you, California Department of Transportation. We have a Misandrist TTS that's about to come through. And then I have one more question on the bear thing. Then we're gonna move
I
on.
have a question.
Christine donated $200. I'm tired of everyone dancing around this. I will just be straight up. This question is to remind men that we hate you, and I choose bear. I hate men and I want my sisters to be with me. Men are trash.
fair enough.
It's kind of interesting, the women's responses. They're like all smiling. Yes, like, she's saying the quiet part out loud.
No,
like,
she's
men are
just
trash.
trolling.
But I think it's interesting, like, this sort of social acceptance of misandry and, like, man hatred. It's pretty socially accepted. Like, you're not really going to get in trouble with it. Other women aren't going to correct you. And then, like, in university, if you're saying, like, man-hating shit, there's typically, like, never any sort of repercussions. It's just kind of socially acceptable to, like, openly say, like, very negative things or sexist things or misandrous things against men. Men are trash. Men are bad. All these sorts of things. In fact, I posted something on my Twitter the other day on TikTok. There's a lot of like anti-male hashtags that are allowed. So like I think it's I forgot exactly what it is. I think it was like men are trash is allowed, but women are trash is not allowed. I don't think either should be allowed, but it's interesting that men are trash. You can make TikToks about that and use that hashtag. There's like 55,000 videos on TikTok that use the hashtag men are trash, but
Yeah.
TikTok, the company, has banned the hashtag women are trash, which I think is
Yeah.
kind of indicative of like the social acceptance of
I think that's wrong.
male hatred versus female hatred. I do have one final question on the bear. Then Andrew, I know you wanted to come in.